It gives me a great pleasure to officiate at this workshop on the dissemination of the 2019 Labour Force and Child Labour Survey findings. By way of history, the Zimbabwe National Statistics Agency, ZimStats, has been conducting labour force and child labour surveys every 5 years since 1988. The 2019 survey results are the latest in this series of 5-year cycles. Going forward, ladies and gentlemen, the intention is to reduce the time frame between the labour force surveys to either once in 2 years or annually, in line with the SADC and ILO recommendations. Distinguished participants, the Labour Force and Child Labour Survey is an important survey as it provides data on indicators that deal with employment, unemployment, and underemployment as major macroeconomic variables that demand the attention of policymakers, researchers, and planners. The survey also provides important indicators to assess progress made towards the achievement of a number of sustainable development goals, Agenda 2063, and our own transitional stabilization program. Some of the data with regard to Agenda 2030 include SDG number 1, which looks at ending poverty in all its forms everywhere. SDG number 5, that looks at achieving gender equality and empowerment of women and girls. SDG number 8, that looks at promoting sustained, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment, and decent work for all. SDG number 9, that looks at industry, innovation, and infrastructure, as well as SDG number 10, which calls us to reduce inequality within and among countries. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2019 Labour Force and Child Labour Survey is a major milestone in that it is the first Labour Force and Child Labour Survey to be done in this country using the new framework for measuring statistics of work, employment, and labour underutilization, premised on the 19th International Conference of Labour Statisticians resolutions. This followed the adoption, this followed the adoption of the new framework by the 19th International Conference of Labour Statisticians in 2013, and its subsequent approval by the International Labour Organization governing body in 2014. Distinguished participants, the new framework was adopted in response to calls to address limitations of unemployment statistics and provide measures of labor underutilization beyond unemployment, mostly in developing countries. The changes were also necessitated by the need to cater for the dynamics of labor markets and changing patterns of work. These trends in the labor markets require policymakers to respond to the needs of different target groups, hence the need for more comprehensive information relevant for diverse uses. Ladies and gentlemen, the new framework sets a new definition for employment, which is now defined as work for pay and profit only, unlike the previous standards, which included in the employment category those who do own-use production work for own consumption. And I want to repeat that this new framework sets a new definition for employment, which is now defined as work for pay and profit only, unlike the previous standards, which included in the employed category those who do own-use production work for own consumption. It is these definitions which lead us to the results that we are going to share with you today. hence the importance of the definitions. On the other hand, the measures of labor underutilization have been broadened. Whereas unemployment rate was in most cases the only indicator of labor underutilization used, the new standards have introduced the concept of the extended labor force to cater for a segment known as the potential labor force. The idea of a potential labor force is to cover those groups who are classified as outside the labor force but have an unmet need for employment. Distinguished participants, the need to provide and analyze employment, unemployment, underemployment, and informal employment cannot be overemphasized, given the conflicting figures and statements on the variables circulating in the media fraternity and other platforms in the country. The role of ZimStats is to produce these indicators using scientific methods outlined in the International Labour Organization manual. Allow me, therefore, ladies and gentlemen, to share with you some of the key findings from the 2019 Labour Force and Child Labour Survey. The survey established that we had, in 2019, the total number of employed persons was 2.9 million. Unemployment rate using the strict definition was 16%. And the strict definition looks at those without work. They are available for work and are actually looking for work. That is the strict definition. So we have 16% unemployment rate using the strict definition. Those without work, available for work, and actually looking for work. Male unemployment rate was 16%. Female unemployment rate was 17%. Combined rate of unemployment and potential labor force was 50%. Share of formal sector employment was 32%. Share of employment in the informal plus household sectors was 68%. Ladies and gentlemen, you will get to hear more of these results in the detailed presentations to come from the technical team. Distinguished participants, allow me to thank our government through the Ministry of Finance and Economic Development that financed the survey processes. I also want to express my gratitude. to the International Labour Organization, who offered technical guidance throughout the survey, and the United Nations Children's Fund, who offered material support to the survey. My words of gratitude also